You have two athletes, same size, same weight, same strength, same skills, and same speed. Those two athletes line up at the starting line to run a race. By all accounts, with all the physical attributes being the same, those two evenly matched athletes should finish neck and neck at the other end. Then it happens. We are all blown away when one of those athletes wins big. Why? How in the heck did that happen? Well, y'all, we'll tell you exactly how that happened. It happened because one of those athletes would not be denied. On tonight's show, your elk hunting attitude, the difference maker when it comes to elk hunting success. Those topics, along with our ElkBros shout-outs and letters from our ElkBros mailbox. So my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gillian. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello there, everyone. If it's your first time with us, where the heck have you been? Welcome, y'all. Hope you enjoy the show. And for our grinders out there, those blue collar hunters following our show and tuning in with us every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, the host of your show, and coming to you from Katy, Texas. Yes, sir, that's right. One of the Venezuelan mafia himself, Luis Gonzalez, and from the DFW area, the one and only Manano Grateron, and new father to a daughter. We're so happy for him. And from Cimarron, your elk hunting coaches, Joe Gillia and Leroy Chav Chavez. What's up, fellas?
Congratulations.
Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody.
Always appreciate it.
Manano.
Congrats, brother.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. I'm really happy. I'm really happy now. We got our daughter with us, the little Clara.
I know Anna doesn't like the middle name, but, for me, she's always going to be Clara Marina.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
We had to capture this on a podcast.
Yeah, that's one of the only few things that we have been in agreement. It's our daughter middle name. Luis proposed Marina, and my grandma was named Marina. So
my grandma too. Welcome to Clara.
Yes.
Clara.
We got another hunter listed.
All I can say is, it's a good thing that mom named the daughter. I was looking at that
Clara, man.
And I was looking at that conversation, and Manano, I was telling my wife about it. Manano's like, I want to name her something that has to do with hunting, something that we do, something like with elk or doe or cow. And I went,
yeah, let's not call her cow.
Let's not call her cow, bro. I can promise you that won't go over well.
Well, that would be her nickname, though.
Yeah, guys,
Be boss, man.
Your life's changed forever, brother. Forever better.
Yeah.
Another member to the Venezuelan mafia, from the lowest ranking member. The daughter is born to succeed him in life.
She will keep me busy, man. I'll be watching.
Don't worry, Manana. You got backup here, man.
No doubt.
Absolutely. Thank you, brothers. Thank you.
Hey, I want to let everybody know out there that if they've been listening to the show, they know, everybody, that we've been counting down to our 100th episode. And get this, boys, there's something else pretty cool getting ready to happen. And I don't know if we haven't mentioned this along the way, but I don't know if you remember, but back in May and June, we celebrated our 100th download. It took us like a year and 3 months or something like that. By the time we do our 100th episode, we will have 200,000 downloads.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
cool,
and I mean, as compared to that first time, so we'll be celebrating our 100th episode. We'll be at 200,000 downloads. And y'all, this is episode 98. And like we said last week, we've been trying to think of ways to include you, our listeners, as a way to say thank you. So we want you to be a part of our celebration shout-outs. And if you hadn't heard before, here's what we want you to do. If you want to be a part of our shout-outs on our 100th show, get your cell phone and take 10 to 15 second video of yourself. Like we said, please have some clothes on. And tell us your name and where you're from. If you want to say, include a home of whatever line in that 15 seconds, have at it, man. So just get that cell phone and give us your name, where you're from. And I want you to take that, and because it's going to be too big to send in an email message, you need to put it on like your Google Drive, your Google Photos, or whatever type of, you can even use Dropbox or something like that, and then just email me a link to joe@elkbros.com, and we're ready to rock. And what we're going to do is we're going to combine all the clips on our show so that you guys give us the shout out. So you'll hear them on the audio podcast, and you'll see them on our ElkBros YouTube channel. So that's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited about that.
Guys, you guys know exactly what time it is.
Shout out time.
It's time for ElkBros shout out. Go to our show. These are just shout outs to a few cities with the most listeners topping our charts this week.
All right, so here we go. First, this week's top listening city. Okay, y'all, let's see how up are you on your U.S. history.
How up are you on that U.S. history?
I'm actually learning as I'm reading, brother. So, do any of you know where Patrick Henry delivered his famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech?
Yeah, and it wasn't a bar in Texas, y'all. So I want you to know that.
I've heard that speech in several places, Joe. I was going to say. But, it was right here in this week's Stop Listening CD. It's the capital of Virginia, and the famous speech was here at the St. John's Church. Mm-hmm. It was also the capital of the Confederacy during Civil War and a major player in the Revolutionary War as well. This, y'all, is one historic city, and it's none other than Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. Yeah. Okay. Richmond. And that's not our only Virginia in the house tonight, too. We're going to hear some more. Man, Virginia was just all over the board.
Out.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
Last couple episodes as well.
So East Coast rednecks are turning out for us, Joe.
Hey, whoa, now, whoa. I'll have you know I was born in Norfolk, Virginia.
No, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
I didn't say anything wrong. I embrace my redneck self.
Next up, this city is the gateway to the White Sands National Monument and is connected to the 1945 Trinity test, which was the site of the first ever explosion of an atomic bomb. The nearby Holloman Air Force Base is also home to a large herd of transplanted oryx from Africa, of which the public can hunt. The city was named after a grove of fat cottonwoods, Alamogordo, New Mexico.
That's cool.
Alamogordo.
And just a note about the oryx, if you've ever seen one, it's just like a huge antelope.
They're awesome.
And
good
the population has exploded because they don't have any, there's no predator that can take down an oryx. They kill mountain lions.
And they kill jeeps. They kill trucks.
They're getting out of the range too, so there may be more public hunts. So
yeah, they can run forever.
They look like a horse, amazing. Man. I mean, they're just a huge animal, and some of
horns.
The best meat.
They're fantastic
that you'll ever have, man. I think the only thing that I've tasted comparable to that was the Neil guy. I think that
Neil guy's good.
Oh, it's because I love elk, but man, I tell you what, that oryx and Neil guy,
very good.
So the oryx, I believe. there are different kinds of oryxes, and
Sure.
some of them are going extinct in Africa. But the ones that are extinct in Africa, they
Those
actually
are-
breed them here in Texas, and they got
Scimitar.
plenty of them for hunting.
I'll be
Yeah, the scimitar horned oryx are the
Yep.
ones we breed here in Texas.
Uh-huh.
And then the Gemsbuck oryx are the
That's
ones
what we
that y'all
have,
are
the
talking
Gemsbuck.
about.
Yeah.
And then, interesting enough, I was actually watching on TV the other day a documentary on the Trinity test. Pretty interesting stuff as far as the tests that were conducted there for nuclear bombs.
Wow. Well, next up, guys, this next top listening city is located 40 miles north of Houston, right outside of H-Town, and was named after the northern-born Union cavalry officer and Houston lumberman Isaac Conroe. George Strait discovered an oil field in 1931 on the Cockfield Formation, the fastest growing city in the United States from July 2015 to July 2016. And it's located in Montgomery County, which is the birthplace of the Lone Star Flag, in none other than Conroe, Texas. And if Houston keeps extending itself, it'll be less than 10 miles from Houston. Houston just keeps growing out, fellas. But Conroe, Texas is a great little city for sure. Got some definite deep roots in the East Texas logging industry, oil field. I mean, you name it. The big
most of directional companies are based there in Conroe, Texas for
that's
directional
right. You
drilling.
got oil field row. Mm-hmm.
Huge public land over there.
Yep.
And you know, when you go to Conroe, because we actually went on vacation there one time, and it's not how you see a lot of areas. Like if you come from New Mexico and you go through that panhandle of Texas, Conroe's way different than any of that, man. Just big
It's a
old
big city.
pines, and it's just gorgeous, man. Nice
It's
lake.
pretty.
Beautiful lake.
Beautiful. Up next, our next top listening city was established in 1740. It was occupied by some of Virginia's most famous family and was named after Thomas Lee, ancestor of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. In the War of 1812, it became the temporary seat of the United States government, and in the Civil War, changed hands several times. It is also the location of the White's Ferry, the only remaining ferry across the Great Potomac River.
Yeah, Potomac.
It is going
Yes, Potomac River.
Potomac River, Leesburg, Virginia.
Leesburg, Virginia.
Leesburg, Virginia.
That's that, when you see that famous photograph of George Washington, and the troops going across, that's the Potomac that they're crossing. Yeah, way back then. All right, last up, originally named Deer Hammock. Sounds like a place that you could go to there, Manano. It has a hammock in it, man. Deer Hammock. This was the home of Bo Diddley, who spent his last 13 years of his life here. But it's the Cottonwood Plantation near this top listening city that is part of the great mystery of the Confederate treasure train, where it is said the last of the Confederate treasure train was unloaded. The so-called treasure train in Southern lore was a collection of all the wealth of the Confederate treasury that was put on a train to flee capture by the North. To this day, whether it was millions or several thousand and where it all ended up is still a great mystery. In Archer, Florida.
It's a cool city name.
I
Archer,
love that
Florida.
name, man.
Yeah.
I think on one podcast we're just going to do cities that are elk wherever, or like Archer or bow and arrow or something like that. Man, there's so many cool names out there.
Says that city's just southwest of Gainesville. Joe.
Archer,
Florida. That's fantastic, man.
That's a cool story.
A lot of that East Coast people are repping out, man, loving the ElkBros stuff. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank
really
you guys,
cool.
man.
Bet.
It's because of you guys that we're doing what we're doing.
You betcha.
So today's topic, let's rock and roll in it right away, because this is something that we talk about attitude all the time. I think And it's easy to talk about attitude. You can tell people that they got to have a good attitude. You can tell people that you've got to have an aggressive attitude, or you got to have this. I mean, it's just so easy there to be able to tell that without really giving an understanding of how it's just not this overall thing. I mean, its attitude goes in so many things, and you guys, when you met me, one of the things that you've heard me say so many times, I've had one gift that's been given to me. I lost my dad. I was about 13 when I lost him. And my dad, before he died, he gave me a gift, and that I don't think there was a single day of my life that he didn't tell me, where there's a will, there's a way. And I've carried that and I've heard that in so many different ways. Look, that a lot of people came to this country. A lot of people are born into certain situations. All of us have different aspects of our life where there might not be a way. We're not given our way. We have to find a way. We have to make it. But even if we don't have all the means, all of the skills, or we don't have all the money, or we don't have all of this, we do have one thing that separates us from other people in a lot of times, and that's what we have upstairs, what we believe in this head. So what I wanted to talk about in this is your attitude, persistence, relentlessness, and not just about one part of the hunt, because I want people, as they listen to us have this discussion, to realize that anything in life, I don't care, it's not any one play, any one decision, any one action that is the reason for any of us losing a competition, or having trouble in a relationship, or a battle of any kind. That there's going to be deciding and contributing points, but in everything there are multiple situations and many reasons as to why we get beat in any one outcome. I mean, I'm sure, Gilbert, in any of y'all's ball games, girls, it'd be towards the end of the game, somebody, strike out, hit a bad hit or something, say, I lost the game for us. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, and we guard against that all the time. There's no one, when you're playing in a team sport, no one person loses or wins a game. It's about doing it as a team sport. As a golfer, I mean, it's totally different. You either won it or you lost it yourself, right? But when you deal with team sports, it's definitely something that we talk about, and we try to keep the kids focused off of what we did wrong and what we did right. We try to focus on the positive things, the things that didn't go our way. We work on daily in practice,
right.
To get better,
Sure.
Perfect practice makes perfect. Right. So, I mean, when you play individual sports, much like what we do in elk hunting, if we're not hunting in a team, I mean, it's up to you to make it happen. And,
now, the point I want to make out of that, though, too, is let's take that golfer. How many times does somebody say that he lost it on the last hole? And, I mean, he didn't lose it on the last hole. He was in winning position all that time until that hole. So, or there could have been, it could have been hole number 5 that he could have hit a better hit and been 2 up on somebody, right?
Oh, yeah,
so
sure.
I think the point that I want to make out of this is, as far as elk hunting attitude, is that your relentlessness, your attitude, your persistence has to be in so many different areas of your game, and all along that, I mean, from beginning to the end, man. I mean, you're not successful. You're not successful in an elk hunt because of one particular opportunity. There's things that happen all along the way sometimes. Now, you might not capitalize on it. Let me just say, okay, what I'm trying to say is you have to be relentless in all areas. Like, you have to be relentless in how well you do your homework. Man, I mean, if you don't do your homework, you're not going to know where to start in the first place. You got to be relentless in how well you develop.
Preparation.
Yeah, in the prep, right? You got to be relentless in how you hunt the hunt. You have to be relentless in your physical and mental determination. And you have to, and this is the huge one, you have to be relentless in assessing your current situation and finding a way, right?
Right.
Yeah, you just can't you can't let defeat creep in your mind. It's a mindset, Joe. You know, we talk about it all the time. You have to believe in yourself and believe in your team if you're hunting with other guys, that we're just not going to let one another down. And when we do, we're going to be there to pick each other up and figure out, you know, how to get back on the horse that threw you and keep moving forward. You know, I said this all the time that, you know, nothing is ever going to be easy, but surely nothing worthwhile ever is. So you just got to keep moving forward. And that, you know, when we talk about elk hunting, it's full of ups and downs and waxes and wanes and those early mornings when it's freezing cold and you had your tail whooped for 12 miles the night before.
I was about to mention it, Beto, about
it's the
in two
physical-
particular situations.
Yeah.
Early in the morning, when usually Joe make some noise and say, "Manano, get up!"
Yeah, because you wouldn't get up.
Yeah, that's right.
Waiting on Manano.
Yeah,
That's
true.
right.
That's true.
We even have a song,
and-
y'all, that we sing when we're waiting on Manano.
WOM.
and later on, I mean, during the day, if you have been walking during the day, the whole day, and you are really tired, I mean, you have to be with a really good attitude to go that extra mile that you need to go in order to accomplish or conquer your goal.
Yeah.
It's not easy though. It's not easy.
No, we tell people all the time we're successful because we're too damn stubborn not to be.
There it goes. That's that stubborn. That's that persistence.
I mean that with like all my heart. I myself, you know, I'm at my best when I'm challenged. I feel that way. I'm built that way. Some other guys aren't. Some other guys, it's a learned thing. That, you know, for me, it's just I'm better when the pressure's on, and I like that. Don't get me wrong, I like something easy too, and I'll take a slam. A slam dunk anytime I can get it. But my life's not been that way. So generally speaking, I have lived through adversity and stuff. So for me, it's you can either give up and go home, or, you know, kind of take the scenic route and sit on the edge of the trail and not go up that hill or another ridge or another ridge or another ridge. And you can be okay going home with tag soup, or you can put your boots on the ground and get to work and calling and learning what you need to learn, doing your homework on areas and figuring out where elk are going to be, and go seal the deal, or at least give yourself an opportunity. There's a lot of good elk hunters out there this year that had an opportunity and they couldn't get it done. You know, I spent the weekend hunting whitetails here in Texas, and these guys will attest. I sent them some video of a really nice whitetail that came in on me Sunday. And listen, you walk into my set when I'm hunting and you're in serious trouble. And this deer did a couple things to me that, you know, and then I had a situation where a coyote came in and kind of blew the whole set. That was really something I couldn't control. But as I analyzed that, my relentless behavior of going to do what I set out to do, I hesitated just a little bit. And, you know, when I was training when I was a police officer, they would tell you hesitation will be the assassination of your best dream, right? You cannot hesitate. When you feel that it's the time to do something, you got to do it, right?
And that feeling you had, Beto, is so common. But at the same time, I think we were talking about you and your setup, and I think we all agree you did the right thing. I mean, you were doing a couple of things. You were aging. You were making sure that the deer, was what you wanted to harvest. I mean, you as a mature deer that came in nervous and wanted to, you wanted it to make sure you had a good shot on it, because then you don't want to wound an animal and then feel worse than you potentially feel right now. So I think, again, going back to the being relentless, I mean, I think you certainly are. And I think that's part of doing your homework as well that Joe is mentioning here. It's important because that's more valuable than actually harvesting the deer or wounding it.
I agree. Just to get yourself in position to do that is a feat in itself. These critters are unbelievably talented at understanding danger around them, right? Mm-hmm. Everything out there tries to eat and kill them, Mm-hmm. So to be able to get in there and have him at 18 to 20 yards and handle what I needed to handle, I view it as I guess you could say that's a moral victory. But for me, like Joe says, every time he goes out in the woods, his goal is to put an animal on the ground. And that's, the cool thing about here in Texas is, Joe says he's never used a trail camera. Well, we find a lot of these animals on our management plan because of these trail cameras. So we can identify an animal and really try to hunt him.
Yeah, and it's totally two different things, what you guys do and what I'm doing.
Yes, for sure.
And
but the mindset's the same.
Yeah.
You've got to be dedicated and figure out what your wind is. A lot of times we can't go hunt a set because the wind's not going to be right.
And one thing that you were talking about, Luis, there, when you talk about like him having to do his looking and everything like that, and where he ends up not getting the animal, there's a difference between a reason and an excuse. Okay, and I want to talk about that here in a minute. I want to really talk about the difference.
It's a delicate balance.
Oh my gosh, it really is, man.
But I honestly think in Beto's case, it's not an excuse. I honestly think that's the way it should be.
No, absolutely.
What happened to him?
But before because I think that's a huge discussion on that.
100%.
But I want to step back to what Manano was talking about, like the early morning or the late evening or all the walking or going up a hill or, hearing that animal after you're tired, like 2 miles away. It becomes.
I didn't hear no animal 2 miles.
I didn't hear anything.
I can tell you
guys
that
hear
right
anything?
now.
I don't know.
A couple hundred yards, I'm in. 2 milers? Nah, that's Manano all day, man.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, you guys are funny, man.
But the guys at camp just playing with the grunt tube.
Yeah.
But the point I want to make out of that is that when you have those situations, just like all you guys are saying, for a lot of people, that is a situation that becomes easy to accept. In other words, if most guys are like, man, if we're real tired, I gotta take a rest. Well, I'm here to tell you one thing. I tell guys, when you're out in the woods, because number one, to kill an elk, you got to be out in the woods. I'd rather be out in the woods than in a tent. So if you're out in the woods, if you're tired, take a nap. If you're hungry, eat. If you're thirsty, you drink, man. And especially if you do it during those times, and you can tell there's a feeling when the animals are doing the same thing, man, if you coordinate with how you are there. But I think like for example, this year when it's hot, right? As soon as it becomes hot, it becomes easy to accept the fact that and go, oh, they're not going to be bugling, they're not going to be moving, they're not going to be talking, right?
Or when it's snowing.
I think that's a little bit different because you're talking about an area where you could actually, hurt yourself or be killed. When you're dealing with inclement weather like that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. The heat, man. Yeah, it's going to affect the animals, but it ain't going to kill me or you or Manano. But man, when we got hit with those big inches of snow, you hurt yourself out there in the cold like that.
Yeah.
You catch up.
No, don't disagree. But I think, to Joe's point is the fact that, look, we could have made an excuse of not going out to hunt when we had that snow come in, right?
Yeah.
And then, instead we turn it into opportunity. And,
dang right. Now we did kind
of a hunt.
We did, and we kind of waited the morning out a little bit. We needed to get all the snow off of our fallen tents and everything. And we got out there mid-morning and had one of the best hunts. I mean, look, it was so cool cutting tracks and learning the stuff that we learned. But we were not going to be denied. We were going to sit in camp and twiddle our thumbs and woe is me. I mean,
And I think that
I asked Joe, what are we going to do now? He goes, I don't know.
We're going to go hunting.
Track and haul ass, you know.
But had I said, you know, guys, it's just too cold out there. It could be dangerous. I could have made it into an acceptable reason to sit my butt down in camp, right?
You could have, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that.
And I would have accepted it too.
My grandpa always said you can't kill an animal.
Actually, I was about to propose it.
Well, we did have some Weller and Frangelica.
Yeah.
Could have got real
I got a
interesting.
lot of Frangelica.
Could have had us another daggum Unleashed episode in camp.
I think this is all about that last point you got there, Joe. Assessing your current situation and finding a way, right?
Right.
And I think 2019 was also for us a year where we proven that we could make lemonades out of lemons, and we had podcasts on those stories as well. But again, to your point, one of the things that I want to bring to the table too is like, and Manano talked about one of the toughest portions of the hunt, and I agree 100% for me is the getting up in the morning. And the getting up in the morning is not just getting up in the morning, is after going to bed super late, after the night prior, is after walking about 10 miles up and down in the mountain the night prior. It's about it being cold. It's about, when you get to that hump day on your hunt where your body's already, screaming at you. What do I do to get up in the mornings? When that alarm clock goes off so I don't hit the snooze button and then I sleep in like Manano does. Let
me tell you how resilient you guys are. Y'all are tagged out and still getting up. Okay. Same thing with me. When I tagged out early, we still getting up and going, helping one another. Right. Like I said, it's the mentality of this group that I wouldn't trade for all the money in China right now. I mean, seriously.
What do you tell yourself in the morning when that alarm goes off, right? I mean, and for me, what I tell myself is like, okay, I've been waiting almost a year. I have a full year to be up here in the mountains. Do I rather stay in my tent and sleep in when I can sleep in at the house, and or do I rather be out there in the woods looking at these animals that I don't get to see year round, and be out there with my buddies hunting? I dream about hunting year round, and then I'm out here and I'm not going to get up in the morning. So it's just, that's what I keep telling myself.
No, I've said this 1,000 times. If I could make a living doing this, I'd be doing it. And we're trying to slowly figure that out. But because I love it, it's like anything. I came home yesterday from being down there hunting, and I'm ready to go back. Not getting up this morning, not having that bow in my hand.
I'm the same way.
Sick. I'm like, man, I wanted to get back on the horse because of what I went through yesterday.
Luis, I think, man, that and what Gilbert's talking about there too, when you're there at that hunting camp, there's a different norm.
100%.
It's a different norm. And when you come back to, quote, the real world, it's like that norm shifts to what everybody else wants. Everybody else wants you up at this certain time, and, and you're going to be doing this stuff all day, and then you're going to be, where you're going to come down at night, and so you're going to veg, and you're going to do this stuff, and then you're going to go to bed, and you're going to do everything all over again. So I think what I do, Luis, and what's in my head is when I'm out in the elk woods, I change my norm. So my morning is not my morning. I mean, it's not everybody's typical morning. My morning is 3 a.m. and I know it's going to be 3 a.m. And I know that, what's going to happen for me in the day and what I'm going to do in order for me to I have to have a successful norm. I have to have a successful pattern. And that pattern has to match up the best opportunity for me to have that encounter with that animal. And so that means that I have to shift all of that. So it's not that, for me, it's not a sacrifice to lose that sleep in the morning.
It's more of a paradigm shift.
Yeah, I've just shifted everything. It's just like I told people, because guys are always like, well, how do you avoid hunting pressure? And it's not that you avoid hunting pressure. You change when you hunt. You don't change where you hunt. And you change by changing when you hunt. You're hunting when pressure's not hunting, when most other people are. When people want to get up and they want to be out in the daylight, or when people don't want to be out night calling, or when people don't want to be out there.
And we do
late
the
in
uncomfortable
afternoon,
things
evening.
we do the uncomfortable things comfortably.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's what separates being regular and being a champion, Joe. I tell this to my kids all the time. You know, while you're unbelievably talented and everything, you know, hard work and dedication will only get you so far. And I've said this 1,000 times, man. If you don't, you gotta have all the talent in the world, but if you don't work hard and you don't put the work in, it ain't gonna matter. You know, you still have to find a reason why. And we say this all the time. You got to find a reason. Your reason why's got to be bigger than your reason why not. So for me, every morning getting up and going chasing elk is because it's what I love to do. And
you only have 10 days to do it, man.
That's it. Yeah. And it makes
7
me angry.
days, right?
Yeah. 7 to 10 days to do exactly what I love to do. And I don't want to miss 1 second of it. You know, I just absolutely enjoy this. And look, when you're tired and you're weary, because it's going to happen. You're going to get tired and weary. Now, where we hunt, people don't really understand this and what we have to go through to get there. It's not easy, man. It takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on your equipment. It takes a toll. So hunting pressure, yeah, we got a lot of people around us, but we never made that an excuse. So when we talk about reasons and excuses, Joe, moving into the next segment of this, we've never allowed that to be an excuse. People around us, full moon, weather, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, your blah blahs there, though, your blah blahs are
spot on.
Most people's accepted reason for why they didn't feel their tag. You know, how many times do you hear the elk just weren't talking, or it was too windy, or I had a full moon, you know? And we did a podcast on no excuse elk hunting, but and we said what those excuses are. But what I'm talking about is the mentality of that.
Well, we just don't have it.
Which I think your point is, like, if there's a question that you can continuously ask yourself when you're up in the mountains as to whether or not you need to do something, that's the question that you just ask. Is that a reason or is that an excuse?
Absolutely.
And then being able to discern between the two and then make the right decision. If it's a valid reason because it involves safety issues and you can potentially put your sim in harm's way, then good. The answer is a reason, but make sure that you don't turn an excuse into a reason. Is mainly what you're trying to convey, right?
Don't
Joe?
turn a reason into use a reason as an excuse, right?
Right.
I mean, because like the way I define it, there's a difference between the two, and like you said. Man, sometimes that is a fine line in that, but I like to think of a reason or reasons or reasoning as a cause and effect of actions or behaviors or outcomes that we can work to understand and work to overcome, or at least compete against. Like, you know, let's take football, for example. You know, I keep getting beat around the end, right? Well, my excuse is I keep getting beat around the end. right? That's my excuse. My reason is, why am I getting beat around the end? And what do I do to change that and to make myself more effective? Now I'm reasoning. Now I'm looking. Now instead of just throwing my hands up and giving up, right? Instead of doing that, I like to look at reasoning as more of a proactive approach. I like to look at it as a way to why something has happened and then find solutions. And it might not happen this year, bro. I mean, I can go, I can say, all right, I did not get my animal this year because my reason was my calling was horrible, right? Now, I could use that as an excuse, or I could have said, well, if my calling was horrible, let me try another strategy. Let me find another way to be able to make that happen, you know.
But another thing that may be dangerous is that you want to use something as an excuse, and then you work your way around it to turn it into a reason.
You might be losing me there.
Yeah,
Explain that.
So say, okay, let's put the example of the snow, right? And then you're like, oh man, it's snowing. We can't go out there. It might be a safety hazard. We just better wait until the snow melts.
Right.
The truth of the matter is that
you don't
it
want
was
to go freeze your butt
originally
off
an
and you want to
excuse.
sleep
You
in.
don't want to freeze your butt out there, and you're turning it into a reason.
Yeah, especially if you're not prepared for that kind of weather, right?
Yeah.
I get it. You can really turn that into an excuse real quick. But my question is to guys like you, Joe, and Chab, and Manano, what do you feel like are some of the excuses guys make? Instead of having reasons, they have excuses for not getting it done during an elk season.
They're all legitimate things, man. They're all totally legitimate. I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell you, is that a reason and excuse can be so close. Like what Luis just said, it could say, well, that could be a bad situation on there. Maybe we should wait. Well, I could sell that to people. Right.
Exactly.
Or I can look and say, oh, there's 20 trucks at the trailhead. I'm not going to see an animal. I can sell that. And other people that have not been successful are going to buy in. Misery loves company, man. They're going to buy into that. Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't get one, right? Or I can say that, well, I was down there and, man, I saw a hunter just 200 yards off there. That's why I didn't get an animal, right? I mean, they take reasons and make them into excuses that are totally legitimate. Yeah, was it hot this year all across the West? Yes, it was. Did it lull the rut some? Well, yeah, it makes animals lethargic and lazy, right? But I can say, well, that's why I didn't fill my tag. And you know what? There's going to be another 8,000 guys out there that go, yeah, it was my problem. Yeah, my problem. So it's kind of a way to consign or verify our shortcomings. And instead of going, you know what? Yeah.
What else could I have done?
What else could I have done?
100%.
Right.
I think everybody got to look within themselves if it didn't happen for them and figure out what else could I have done. Could I have put the time in a little more on the treadmill, or could I have done 25 more push-ups a day, or could I have, there are a lot
off that trail and gone over this way where nobody's going, or stayed out past, dark, and maybe just stayed up all night long and even slept out there if I had to. I mean, if you look, if there is a will, there is a way. And guys have been killing these animals for years without calling them, right?
Oh, absolutely. But here's a key to killing an elk, okay? And it's one of the biggest excuses that I hear from our listeners that write in and from guys that I talk to that are hunting out west. Man, I called this bull in and the bull was looking at me the whole time and I never drew. Okay, so that's an excuse. You never drew.
It was a reason turned into an excuse, right?
You 100% you have to draw your bow or you will never be able to release that arrow.
Sure.
So for me, when a guy tells me that, I'm like, it don't matter if he's looking at you or not, Hoss. If he's walking in there to you and he's screaming, draw your bow when he's attempting to move, and he's not. If he boogers, if you can actually make a cow call sound or even go, yeah, you can stop him, and he will turn broadside and look back at you. It's the biggest thing I hear from 90% of the guys.
I'll give you one. Every bull I called in hung up.
Mm-hmm.
Every bull I called in hung up. I hear that so many times. It stayed out there. Well, if that animal kept hanging up, you need to look at the reasons why they're hanging up, man, and change what you're doing, right?
Hey, I mean, you guys did it this hunt with Luis. You did it. Everything you were doing, they were getting a little response, but not really. And then all of a sudden, you went from being aggressive and everything to more herd talk, and then, oh man, got the response you needed. But had you been one dimensional and just doing what you were doing, probably would have never got that bull pulled by for Luis, especially since Manano was on his phone the whole time.
Oh, I didn't want to bring that up, man. That was low.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chad, let me ask you, man. What do you think are some of the more obvious things that, because this is what is separating those people that are successful all the time from those people that are doing it once every 5 or 6 years. What do you think those reasons are that a lot of people use, that take those reasons and use them as excuses, and they're legitimate?
I think a lot of it has to do with what Luis touched on earlier, and that's preparedness. Be prepared. You got to be in good shape, so that takes a lot of preparedness. You have to be proficient as a shooter, rifle or bow, and that takes time to prepare. And knowledge is your biggest power. The more you learn, the better off you are as far as being able to change things on a dime. When it snowed, a lot of people probably stayed in camp. But to me, that would be a great opportunity because everything's silent. The scents that have been flowing around have grounded, at least for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, just being able to answer the bell regardless of the situation, and that's being, mentally and physically ready to go. And like you said, the time restraint on our hunts, 10 days at the most, or it's probably less than
7 days. I mean, we get out there days early before the guys come in, but it's 7 days for them.
Yeah, so you don't want to waste any opportunity, and like you were talking before, don't just hunt the roads and the trails, get off of them and see what's out there. But like Luis said, a lot of it's just being prepared.
Yeah. And
there's all kinds of aspects to being prepared. It's easy, and you can justify just about any condition or situation and go the opposite way. I like to sleep in myself.
One of the thing I learned pretty quick after my first elk camp was that you have to be comfortable. You have to sleep well. You have to be prepared to get a full, like a full at least 6 or 7 hours of sleep, which is
crucial.
Nearly impossible to do it. Because you have to cook, you have to get ready, you get up at 3 a.m. in the morning, and
we'll never be calorie intake deprived. I can tell you that, boys. We always gonna have enough fuel in camp.
Having a poor accommodation of and sleeping, you will be in a worse. In a really hard situation. It's one of the things you have to be prepared of.
Grinders tuning in, thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Podcast. Our goal is to share our knowledge and help you flatten that learning curve so that you too can have some of the very same incredible experiences that have given all of us here at ElkBros a lifetime of memories. If you like what you hear or see, you can get all of this information plus so much more from our Base Camp Elk Hunting Training Camp, the first in a series of online courses from our Blue Collar Elk Academy. Our Base Camp Training Camp allows me to use my coaching style and share almost 40 years of elk hunting experiences successfully hunting elk on public lands, as well as over 20 years guiding hunters of all ages and experience levels. This course will be like nothing you have ever experienced in concept and structure, using success-based coaching techniques that will elevate your confidence and skill sets. Our camp will prepare you specifically from that final moment most in your control, those final minutes or seconds the elk is in front of you, backwards through each step and level, allowing you to see, visualize, understand, and relate every coaching point to what lies ahead, the next step, the next thought process, the next success. Because y'all, you've already been there. You know what it looks like. By tapping my 30 years of teaching and coaching experience, our camps are developed considering multiple learning modes with text, visuals, audio, as well as video. And Base Camp will benefit those new to elk hunting all the way to the 10 to 15 year vet. So if you are looking for that one thing to help you fill that tag this year, invest in the most important piece of equipment there is, you and your elk hunting knowledge. You can find the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Academy and the Base Camp Training Camp at ElkBros.com. That's ElkBros.com. Keep dreaming of the screaming, believing in achieving, and most of all, keep grinding.
Yeah, we went on several back-to-back bull kills and stuff where we running on no sleep and lots of hiking and tough pack outs and stuff. And look, man,
and having a comfortable spot, it'll help to mitigate the question yourself really early in the morning. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna pass today or not. If you are comfortable, if you sleep well, it'll mitigate.
Yeah.
A portion of the self-questioning your in the morning.
So my norm on a hunt is 5 hours. If I can do 5 hours of sleep, I can go, because I know that I'm going to, in between certain times in the day, between that midday and that afternoon, yeah, I'm gonna catch some sleep, and that's usually some of my better sleep, man. Yeah, and out in the woods. And what's so
how many
great
times
about
will
that,
you stop and took a nap, Joe? I mean, get tired, we sleep. We kind of like Forrest Gump hunting.
Yeah,
when we're tired, we sleep.
Yep.
When we're hungry, we eat. When we're thirsty, we drink. I mean, that's Forrest Gump.
That was one of the first lessons I received in my first elk hunting. Joe, we were walking early in the morning, and all of a sudden he was looking for a clear spot, and then he went to the ground and start trying to make a comfortable spot. And what are you doing, Joe? And he goes like, well, you have to.
Sleepy. I'm gonna sleep.
You have to mimic the animal. And he goes, by this time they probably getting close to bed and have some sort of a break, and that's what I tried to replicate. And I
remember that day we actually had some mule deer walk up on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I'm not able to tell you how many times, because I was taking a nap and staying in one place, I've actually had elk bugle sound off or walk by while I was there.
I don't know if you remember it, not this year, but last year we were taking a nap. Me and Brendan woke up and there was a big bull standing below us.
Yeah.
I was the one that saw it.
Yeah.
Because you were snoring.
Guys were stretched out.
Everybody knows Manano does not snore.
I was taking pictures. I was recording everything.
I want to tell you that we were like roughing it, laying in the pine straw. Me. I was roughing it, laying in the pine straw. These cats were in a hammock in the middle of the woods.
Oh, so that's a nice
they
feat for
serious
some
about
of you
their
guys
rest.
too.
I'm serious.
Yeah,
that's a really good tool.
It is a good tool.
It's absolutely awesome, man. I have one in my pack that my Nano gave me, because I tell you what, there's some places you're not able to find a place without a rock stick.
Well, I'm a little aggravated I ain't got one. So next time, I got a sharp knife from Outdoor Edge, but it will flat take care of that hammock hanging. If Beto don't have one, I can tell you.
So what you guys are hearing is that Manano and Luis in Venezuela, the hammocks are used inside homes, man, and these guys are very comfortable in hammocks. And he keeps a lightweight one with him. And whenever we stop, if we're going to stop for a little while and we're going to chill and take a nap, he just pops it between two trees, and that dude's out in the hammock. And
in just 1 minute, less than 1 minute.
And he gave me one, and it's just fantastic. And so they're real comfortable. And Gilbert, he's down trying to get comfortable on the ground, man.
In the pine straw now. I wake up after snoring for sure, probably woke myself up, and I look over there and there's two big hammocks with two bodies in them over there. I'm like, what in the world is going on? When they
how much do you
I didn't show up or something, man.
How much do you think those hammocks weigh, Manano? They're like what, 5 ounces?
They're
not even 200 grams.
Yeah, they're light.
Guarantee you my pack better have one.
You know, and the thing that I like about it, you know, is I like to sleep well when I'm sleeping in the woods, but I don't know about you guys that are listening here, if you've encountered this, but you're trying to sleep and those doggone big old red ants start climbing up inside your britches and down in the top of your shirt and stuff like that. It's just, oh my gosh. So the hammock really solved that issue. I mean, you can really be out and
well, I can tell you right now, I have no problem sleeping in that pine straw because Joe has sled dog us for about 2.5 miles right then. I was ready to catch a nap.
And it's really convenient. As a general rule, I have a hammock in my backpack for, an emergency. You have to be up in the air.
I'll tell you other times where that's really great is during that midday hunt, when you've put some of those animals to bed or you're waiting for them to move again and stuff like that, man, you just park it and you just until you're ready to start making your move about 11 o'clock or so, where you start trying to call them off of them. It's perfect, man. That's when you get your sleep and you get yourself ready. And sometimes you have animals, because you're parked away on that downwind side of them, you'll have animals come moving in, man, as well. So look, like you said, you got to Forrest Gump it out there. And I know sleep is probably, I'd say sleep and food, but food is easier to handle because you can carry that stuff with you. You can eat all the time. And I think we eat too much. I think that's one of the reasons that we need to sleep so much, man.
Why we want to sleep so much. We're trying to work serotonin coming up on us all the time because of the stuff we do.
Oh, man, we're trying to work it off. But these guys, I tell you what, man, they do. So that's the real point that I wanted out of this, is not just about attitude, but how easy it is to sell something that could be a legitimate reason and make an excuse. And here's what I'm going to tell you guys is, this is always a tough one for me, is that, everybody's like, look, it's about the hunt. Right? It's about the hunt. It absolutely is about the hunt. That's why I hunt the hunt so hard, because the goal of my hunt is to tag an animal, man. And that, if you're saying that's not important, I don't daggone believe you, man. If you say it, it is important. That's why we're out there. That's why we want to do it. Is that the only win? No. Is that the only goal? No. I mean, how many football games did I play in that we didn't end up winning at the end? But man, were incredible experiences for me. I had great camaraderie. Good bonding. I learned lessons. Yeah, all of that comes for it. But my goal, if winning wasn't important, then they wouldn't have had that freaking scoreboard up there, right? So
no, and I'm with you, Joe. The first 4 years of my elk hunting career, it wasn't about killing a elk. It was about killing the elk.
Right.
And I had a goal, right? And we accomplished it. Now, it don't matter. If it's brown, it's down, brother.
Right,
We ain't
absolutely.
discriminating sex, gender, none of that. I'm telling you right now, if a cow gets messed up and gets in front of me, she's in serious trouble. Same thing with any bull, and I ain't discriminating on how big his horns are either.
We got a
we're-
tag that allows us for that. But
Exactly.
if you don't have
Let's
a
clarify that. Let's clarify
Yes, to make sure.
Yeah, it's an
that's
sex
clear.
tag where
Yeah.
we hunt. So in an undisclosed location. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm 100% the same thing. I love the build up. I love getting there. I love being in camp. But yeah, for me, my family wants to eat elk meat, man. And
Well,
we've got a little mini streak going here. It's been really good. We've put a lot of work in. The guys have all been
There ain't
unbelievable.
nothing mini about that streak, bro.
Yeah. Well, it's been fantastic, man. Again, I think a lot of these guys too that are maybe having struggles with where they hunt, Joe, or making excuses, maybe who they're hunting with too. If you're not in with a group that won't accept they won't accept success as the only outcome, that can drag you down. These guys I hunt with, man, they won't
absolutely. You need to change that because but you got to allow yourself to do that too. You have to buy in that everything's a decision, everything's a choice. And if you got to decide sometimes when you're in with that, whether you're going to help make the change for the group or if you're going to become changed by the group and or your partner, like that. And the key to overcoming a losing situation is you got to want to change the outcome. You have to have that competitive desire. It has to burn inside here. Yeah. And I tell you what, I don't care what it was I do in my life, man. I'm going to compete in some way, shape, or form, man. I mean, I might not be the greatest basketball player, but I'm going to find the biggest dude out there, and I'm going to try to take that dog off the porch, man. And it's just you gotta love to compete, and all that other stuff takes care of itself. The harvest takes care of itself, man. If you're persistent, if you're relentless, if you're passionate, if you just really love what you're doing, and you talk about these guys that get up after they filled their tags, and I'll tell you, I actually think they get up easier after they've done it themselves because
pressure's
they are.
off.
Yeah, well, and they are so oriented about helping other people to have
givers,
that.
man. They're givers. I'm anointed with that as far as the way I grew up, man. We're here to help people and we're here to give back. These guys they're cut out of that same cloth. I had a kid played for me a couple years ago, and she was just such an absolute competitor on the field. She was a middle infielder for me. It's been a couple of tough years trying to find somebody that's the heart and soul like that has that kind of competitive fire. She's one of the sweetest kids you'll ever meet. And when she got in between the lines, though, in between the chalk, she was a beast, man. Like, you didn't even want to be around her because she was a different person. You're like, how is this little kid this tyrant when she's in the middle of the field? But she did not want to lose.
And that permeates, man.
Oh my God. It took my team they were very good, talented wise, but when you have a leader like that, they all want to get better, right? And not because it's my own kid, but Lacey Ornelas is that kid that I'm talking about. She's the ultimate competitor. And I got a kid playing for me right now, Joe. Her name is Kenna Hendry. Going to go to LeTourneau University. I thought I'd never met another kid more competitive than my own kid, because that's what we build here, right? We build competitive. We work extremely hard. We build kids that want to be better people and help others. But, man, I'm telling you, this kid, Kenna Hendry, you can't play a board game in her house because, I mean, it is like they're going to throw peas
That's
and
me
corn.
And my wife, man.
I mean, it is ultra competitive. And
oh, yeah.
It's so impressive to watch her grind and take her teammates to another level.
Sure.
Like I said, I've been missing that when I lost my shortstop a couple years ago. But Kenna Hendry's kind of filled that gap, man.
Sure.
Kenna's the ultimate competitor, and she's little as they come, man, but a fierce, fierce competitor. And that's the kind of fire I hunt with. You know, that's the kind of competitiveness that I bring. And these guys know that, you know, I'm down to do whatever they need for me to help them and get them to where they want to be. And you and Chav have always been that way for us. So we can never come with any type of weak-minded stuff to elk camp, because that, you know, that ain't going to fly around here. You know, as a good old friend of mine, Bill Watson, would say, you can get that crap out of your head right now. You know, because that ain't gonna fly around here. You know.
Okay, and we all have our weak moments, right?
Sure.
We all do. But if
Especially
you
when you get
surround,
tired and downtrodden.
but if you surround yourself with people that are on the same mindset, they will pick up on that, and they will realize that it's time to help a brother out and get him out of that temporary situation in which you're feeling down, and I think that's something that us 5, 6 as a team out there in the mountains, we've been able to learn. We've known each other, hunt with each other for a while now, to where we can know our personalities, know our strengths and weaknesses, and always step in and fill in where it's needed.
You know, we've had a lot of people hunt with us, Joe. We've had Steve Tucker, the mad Canadian, right, who's turned his life around because of what he did with us. You're talking about a guy who was 310 pounds, 315 pounds. Now he's like 185 and running Ironmans, right? Yep. And is begging to come back and hunt with us. So you take Trey Kistler, whose life was changed being on that mountain, understanding elk behavior and stuff like that. Then now we've got the Pennsylvania cat killer himself, Brendan Houlihan, whose life's been enriched, and ours has too, because of his giving nature. So there's been a lot of guys that have shared elk camp with us. And then, running into, Bill Watson, Pat Salvo, I mean, Will Watson, little Ricky T. I mean, all these guys that have shared elk camp with us have been fantastic givers, but they all have that same mentality.
Yeah. And what I wanted to tell everybody out there, whether man or woman, is that you can take mediocre talent, and with belief, you can be so much better than what you are, because you believe you are. And
look at Manano.
I had a coach a long time telling me that, guys, hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard.
Absolutely, and I mean, we had a team one year, Chav and I, that these boys should have been 4th by all rights, but they believed they were way more than what they were, and doggone if they didn't go out there and win a state championship, man, because they believed that's what they were going to do.
But they're right. Yeah. They're right. If you believe it, you're right. 100.
That's right.
If you believe that you're not good enough and you're going to get beat,
you're absolutely 100%
right. Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell
well,
that
it's not all the time, Beto, because Luis
he's coming back. He's been thinking about it for about 30 minutes after I said that. No. How do I come back to that?
He believes it's better. It's not always that way.
Yeah, sometimes it's a false belief, It's just but hey, but
we are not going to lack for confidence in our group.
At least you go out swinging, man. Hey guys, that was a great conversation. I hope everybody got something out of that. I want to always, I think people are going to hear us always talk about these matters, because in different ways we hit it, in different manners. And it's such a critical point of success, man. I mean, your mindset, your mental strength, your mental endurance, your thought processing, your willingness, your persistence. Like you always say, Gilbert, being that dog on a bone, man. I mean, all of that is just so critical. So you're going to hear us talk a lot about this, and that's part of our coaching aspect. There's going to be a lot of times you're going to hear us revisit this, and hopefully each time you get something. And if you didn't get something this time, maybe you will the next time, or maybe the next time it just reminds you of something that helps you dig down a little bit. So
something else, Joe, I'd like our viewers and our people that write in or
Mm-hmm.
our listeners, I'd like for them to send us some topics that they'd like to hear about more.
Be awesome.
Yeah, so we could, you guys start doing that. Send us some topics you'd like for us to discuss, and we can knock that out even more as we go along in these podcasts, and we'll take them into consideration. Maybe we can have a grinder spot where we answer, a question that y'all would like to have discussed every time.
You bet. Let's go down the ElkBros mailbox. Won't you?
Yes, sir.
Who wants to take that first one? Old Donald for us.
I'll go ahead and take it. First up is Donald Johnson from Maple Valley, Washington. And he asked, in some of your podcasts, I hear you guys talking about scouting and you reference dark timber or black timber. Is this a term for black burnt areas or more towards heavy timbered areas?
Oh, he has it right.
I made that question before. Also.
It's a good question, Donald.
That's a good question.
You have asked that before, haven't you, Manano?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the dark timber. It's just that. So on the north side of most mountains, man, that timber grows thick there, and you get inside of it, it gets dark, it gets cool, it's real thick, and I can see where people would, is it the black burned areas? But that dark
it's more
timber
the pondos too that grow up, the big ponderosa pine trees and stuff like that grow at that top elevation. You'll find that black timber will start getting at the higher elevations. You'll see that black timber versus some of the, the
shorter scrub oak and
shorter it'll lead up from that shorter scrub oak, and then you'll get to some lighter timber when you're in those quakies, in the aspen trees.
Sure.
And then it'll move out of that into that dark timber, and that's what we're talking about is more of the ponderosa pines and
so those northeast sides that are shaded all the time. You go in there and there's hardly any grass growing down on underneath there. And if there's any snow, it's going to stay there forever because it's on the shaded side. And it's the cooler side, man. And that's where those elk like to bed down in different areas like that. In those areas, yeah.
A lot of downfalls too, so it's really
a lot of downfalls.
Man, that time me and Chavs chased that bull up there and way up on this ridge, we had to come bail off of it. Oh my gosh, and it was all dark timber. And I'm telling you, it felt like I ran 3,000 yards of hurdles every 20 feet, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my legs were burning so bad. Oh my Lord.
Nothing but obstacles.
Every time I'd look over at him, I'd say, how much further to the bike? He'd say, 1.8 miles. And we'd go for an hour, and I'd look over to him, and I'd say, how much further we got now? 1.8 miles. I'm like, what in the world is wrong with that thing, Jeff? It's a geographical oddity. We're 1.8 miles from everywhere.
It's like it's like that scale you got at camp to measure your animals.
Yeah, man, they all weigh 200 pounds. How much does that dough weigh? 200 pounds.
So this next question, guys, I wanted to hit this because I've been getting a lot of questions from everybody, so I kind of combined all of them together and didn't give it to any one person because it was talking about how a lot of guys are uncomfortable and have fear in the dark, man. And so a lot of them were talking about that, and it's so huge. So it's like most of the questions had to do with being out late or early in the dark, okay? And one of the questions was, how long did it take you to get comfortable out alone in the dark? Any of you guys comfortable out alone in the dark? You still have that?
Yeah, no, I think as kids, we all grow up with some semblance of fear in the dark. One thing that my grandfather told me when I was a young boy is that there wasn't anything in the dark that couldn't hurt you in the light. And that made a lot of sense to me. And he showed me, the same animals in the woods are there in the light time, and when it's daylight as they are in the dark time. You just can't see them. So what he taught me was that you made enough noise so all of them could see you. So and hear you. Sure. I believe most of our predators, bears and cougars alike, they have a general fear of humans. And
Sure.
I think for me, when I'm out in the dark, we all use headlamps and stuff like that. And I have run up on a couple of bears, and I don't know if I've ever
In the
ran up
dark?
on in the dark. Yeah.
You have in the dark, huh?
Well, yeah, I have. Well, the one that we run up on was pretty dark, pretty dang close to dark when
But
we
that's
went
what
and
I'm
got
saying.
my
A lot of this is like the
cap.
evening time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the evening time, but I guess
Uh-huh.
it wasn't pitch black. And I heard some things running off before when I've been in the dark. It could have been a bear. It could have been a deer. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know. I tell you what, I've got an incredible sense of faith that I believe that God give me dominion over the animals, and I'm not scared of them. So now look, when you're confronted with a bear that can eat you, it don't matter if it's day or dark. You are in front of something that will make you have a little bit of fear in you, and Chad will make you do a dance around that bear.
So, yeah, it's time to pull the old bear dance.
Yeah, hey bear, and dance around some kind of hey bear polka that will scare most of the bears out of the way. But I think more importantly, it was God telling that bear to get the heck out of Dodge, that they don't taste good anyway. So,
So what's your biggest fear, Chav? What's your biggest fear of the dark?
Well, I guess it would be a bear or a cougar, I guess. But, generally, if we're out there, trying to hear an elk, we're pretty quiet. But otherwise, we're talking pretty loud, trying to make our presence known.
Yeah, buddy.
So before
I haven't really
down,
encountered anything in the dark, but, I've encountered them in the daylight
sure.
and been able to get away from them.
Yeah, I can talk for, I'm probably, as far as archery or bow hunting career, I'm the youngest one here in the group. And so when we started, yeah,
I thought Manano was younger than you, man.
no, he's younger in age,
Oh,
but not in.
In bow hunting,
I see.
He's
Okay.
way younger in mentality as well and matureness, but not in bow hunting career.
Can you give me a break, mofo?
If y'all aren't watching this on YouTube, he's giving him the #1 signal right now.
Yeah. So, no, but my point is, when we started roughing it out there in public land, we were doing a lot of walking early in the morning when it was dark, to our spots or tree stands in the middle of the night, like in the dark, and same on the way out. And I try to identify initially what were my two fears, right? And so my two fears then, and for me to try to kind of work through this, was one,
Snakes.
getting lost,
Mhm.
and two, animals that can hurt you. And the animals that could hurt us in that land were mainly snakes. So I was like, okay, one, you can eventually work it out because you get familiar with the area, you know where you're at, you know where you're walking, you're not afraid of getting lost, which would be one of the fears that you may have. And the other one is, what animals can hurt you. Now, we know here in Texas that, really, there's really no predators out there that you should be afraid of. Maybe a hog in a close encounter, but I'm yet to.
Mountain lions.
I've been.
Mountain lion.
Lots of mountain lions.
Yeah, but I mean, at least where we were at, we hadn't even seen sign of them ever.
You won't. They just there.
You want?
Eat me.
But there's like,
After you see
I'm
some
gonna tell you right now, buddy, you can get that crap out of your head right now. Where you hunting that public land? There is the mountain lion.
Yeah. So, but
You
the
won't.
point being is, like, once you kind of understand what your fear is, then you can start working on, working it out. So I feel way more comfortable nowadays.
Yeah.
It being in the dark. It's just understanding of what the dangers are and what do I really need to be afraid of and what I don't really need to be afraid of.
So let me give you guys some stats. I mean, because and this is for everybody out there, that black bears have killed 61 people across North America since 1900. 61 people since the 1900s. From 1991 to 2003, there were an average of 5.6. So let's round it off. There's an average of 6 cougar attacks and 1 death per year in the United States and Canada combined. combined. That's from 1991 to 2003.
Yeah, those are
There
pretty low
were
numbers.
6 attacks and 1 death in Canada and United States combined. Your chances, guys, of being killed by a domestic dog, bees or mosquitoes or lightning are vastly greater than being killed by a bear or a cougar.
Lightning.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
You want me to tell
And
you
the
what
most
kills?
dangerous people in the United States are each other.
That's right. In 2019, there were 16,425 murders in the U.S. Guys, the safest place a person can be is in the woods.
yeah. Well, and
Amen,
look,
brother.
no matter how you put these numbers together, I mean, yeah, it's obvious the chances are low, and you are absolutely right. Now,
But
the
we must
one thing,
respect our quarry, right? Must
yeah, and
respect
the one thing that I always
Sure.
question about data like this is it's counting total population, but you know, in order for me to digest this data better, and you know me, you know, I like data and,
He's an
and
analyst.
understanding.
an analyst.
I would like to see it based on the population that actually goes
So-
out in the woods and
so
the number
let's-
of days. Because
Let's forget the population and go by geographic amount of land. How much land do you think cougars are living in between the United States and Canada that
every
people are
state.
going into?
Every
you know,
state.
but you know, but what I'm saying is like, okay, so a lot of an average person will be exposed to dogs and bees year round.
Yeah, because there's
every
more of
day,
them. Sure,
right?
there's more of them.
And because they're here everywhere. But what I'm saying is, not an average person is not really going to be exposed to a bear or a cougar ever.
Well, so then take the number of hunters, right?
Yeah,
that
that's what I'm
bought a
talking
license
about.
in New
Exactly.
Mexico, Texas, all of them. I think that the
Which
vast
again-
majority is
which
millions
again-
and millions of people.
The point that Joe made is still extremely valid, and it's very
yeah.
low chances.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying it's like, okay, maybe if you
Well,
put it into perspective, it might be a little.
I think
Let
what a
me-
lot of us do is, though, we create monsters under the bed.
Yeah,
And-
man.
And
Hell,
I mean, you can scare
That's-
yourself to friggin' death,
That's
man.
my,
I mean,
yeah.
that,
and
Look, man, I thought
Yeah.
you were a bear beating all the snow off our tent. Man. You got shot that night,
Hey.
Joe.
You know-
Because Joe can't hear without his hearing aids, and really can't hear good with his hearing aids. And I'm gonna tell you right now, he was beating on that tent, getting
Let
all that
me-
snow off, and I thought we had us a bear trying to get into camp. Look, these guys cook a lot of food, and the bears could probably smell it.
he thought a bear was coming in camp, and he didn't even budge out of the sleeping bag. Man.
Whatever. I told you. Hey, what's going on,
let me
Joe?
tell you my father's method to cure me about being scared in the dark. It was I don't know, I was 10 or 11 years old, and I was really scared of being alone in the dark. And one time I remember we were getting to our ranch down there in Venezuela, and he said, okay, open the gate. And as I closed the gate, he turned it on, and
Right
he
on.
started going, I don't know, 300, 400 yards.
He
It
left.
was a
He left.
yeah, it was a straight
Dirt road.
road,
Uh-huh.
but it was really, really dark. And I didn't have any flashlight. I mean, nothing. And he turned the lights off, but he pushed the brakes, so I could see the red
Right,
lights.
right.
And I remember I started shaking right on the gate, shaking, and I pushed my arms like together, and I was panicked. And I remember I started walking. When I relaxed a little bit, I started walking, following this little clearance,
Mhm.
this little
Road. Hmm.
road. And as I was getting close to the truck, he would start the truck again and
And go.
and left me again. Yeah, and he did it twice. And I started crying. I was 11 years old, man. I mean, it was really, really dark. And
We do
his
not
analogy,
condone this.
I do
yeah,
like
and his
Manano's dad, though.
analogy, his method was horrible, but it worked because after he
Sink or swim
he,
principle
he,
there, huh?
he did it opposite way. I would have done in the opposite way.
Yeah, right.
After I got to the truck and I was crying, he started talking to me and he said, "Hey, yeah, we are in South America. We have tons of snakes. We have jaguars. We got several things.
And you got
But-
lucky.
Yeah, 99% of the time, you will be all right. Your enemy will be your mind. You are creating enemies in your mind. Just relax. Start feeling the woods,
Yeah.
and just be relaxed."
No, you're absolutely right.
uh,
I think if you really slow down, the night woods is such a beautiful, pleasant place, man. If you slow down and you take it in, and I'll just tell you, those critters, most of them, exception of you guys living in Griswoods,
Yeah.
those critters are way more
And
scared
wolves.
of you than you are of them. And you know,
Yeah,
it's
well,
it really, you are the apex predator out there, and you know that's one thing to remember when you're out there.
Yeah.
If you haven't been on a
Big
southern
exclusion in the Grizz and Wolf Woods.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, even, you know, there's not that
Yeah.
if you take a look at wolf attacks and stuff, that's very
Yeah.
limited as well. So
Well, they're very limited in their quantities and places that
Sure.
people frequent
Yeah.
too,
Mhm.
Joe.
right.
You know.
You got to be prudent about it too, right? I mean,
100%.
if you stumble upon a mama bear with some cubs like Manano did this year,
Tempt
best
fate.
thing you can do is back out slowly.
Well, there's a lot of
and,
guys that haven't been killed by an animal because they killed the animal first, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean
Yeah,
that
look, I mean, when confronted in that scenario, and one of them's going to either bluff charge you or charge you, you know, you got to muster up all your strength and try to get him off of you. You know, do what you got to do to survive, but you got to be willing to do that. You know,
And let's give you some tools, man. What if you do encounter a bear or a cougar? You know, number one is you never stop looking at that animal as you back away. You never turn to run, because then you turn on that switch.
predatory response.
Predator
turn,
prey
your,
switch.
turn yourself into a prey.
Absolutely. You want to get as big and as loud as possible. If
Do
you have a
not
jacket on, open it up, put it over your head. You start backing away. If the wind is not in your favor going towards that animal, try to kind of go in a way that, if possible, you can get the wind blowing at them so they catch your scent as well.
If you have 10 millimeters in your pocket, reach
At the
it.
ready.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, if you're ever caught in that situation, do not run. You know, make sure that you keep that animal visually. Talk to them if you have to. You know, you throw something at them. They do not want to get hurt. So that's that. You know.
Yeah, you know, I was talking to Maxi Grimion, a friend of mine, and he was hunting leopards in Africa. And it's more hunters are killed by hippos and leopards than any other animal over there when they're hunting. And he told me, he said, my guide was like so adamant. Look, when this leopard comes in, you need to make sure you kill him with the first shot, because I'm telling you, he will come in this blind that we have and he will rip us to shreds. He said, I've seen it happen 1,000 times. And Maxie was like, so they showed me some videos of some things happening. He was like, man, I'm shooting a 375 H&H with a 350 grain bullet. You know, that leopard probably weighs 200 plus pounds. And this one he killed was a giant. I mean, a giant. He said, when he walked in and started going to that bait pile and everything, I looked at the guide. He was about 90 yards away. I looked at the guide, and the guide goes, okay, are you ready? And he goes, hell, I don't know. He goes, I don't know. He goes, what do you mean you don't know? He's right out in front here. He said, he goes, yeah, I'm afraid I'm not going to make a good shot. That some gun's going to come in here. And he said, man, we can't let you shoot the leopard if you're not ready. You know,
Oh, heck no.
He said, no. He said, I'm okay. He said, I'll make a good shot. He said, man, I got to praying, oh my God, please let this rifle be true. He said, please. He said, man, when I steadied it and everything, he said, I started shaking a little bit. And he said, I thought to myself, I am not dying here in Africa. He said, I'm going to shoot that leopard. And he made a good shot on him. And when he hit the ground, when he shot him, he hit the ground. He kind of started to get up, and Maxie said, man, I jacked another round of that thing. Boom, 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 boom. I shot 3 more times with that 375 bolt action. He goes, I didn't touch anything, but that leopard I was going to throw some more lead at that leopard. He said, I was scared to death. So it was being scared of these big animals for sure.
Yeah. What that?
Okay, one important part of not being scared is know the animals, know their behavior, know what in what level of the chain food you are.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
I can tell you, I used to follow behind Chav, man. When we'd be hunting in snow, we'd be deer hunting, and I'd cut his track, and I'm like, it'd be time of the day. I said, well, I'll see if I can follow his track and find, where he's at, and we can meet up and do some hunting, and I'd be following his track, and he's going, and all of a sudden there'd be a turned rock with some bear track. Chav, his tracks would go the opposite way, man.
Heck yeah, man. Why tempt fate?
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm not dealing with that.
Joe likes to get close to the bears. Let's go look at him a little bit. Go check him out. I've been with Joe. We walk up on a bear and he go, look right there. And I peek my head up, and we got a bear 15 yards from us. Ain't that cool? I'm like, let's go down there. No, ain't nothing cool about that bear, Joe. When that bear decide, I'm not worried about the bear going crazy. I'm worried about the bear going bear, because they eat things to live, right? And we are just a mere snack on his diet.
I'll have to tell that story of me and Chav one time when we found a bear and decided to stalk it. Man, I have to tell that one.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be good for tonight, man. Why don't you close out, Gilbert?
All right. Well, Mr. David Draper, we'll get to you next week for sure. Guys, it's been an incredible show. Mindset is a huge thing for us here. And, all the content that you got tonight from our guys have been exquisite. From Manano sharing with us tonight on how well he dealt with the dark and how his daddy did. And, my share from my grandfather, and Joe and Chav and everybody sharing about how they feel about that and moving forward. All the mental things that we go through in a hunt is so important, to have guys that support you in doing those things, right? And having positive mental attitudes when we're in camp. I have the best guys in the world I hunt with. I ride the river with these guys, and I know that if I ask something of them or they ask something of me, I got to give it, because that's just how we are. We appreciate your support, and we're honored for any and all of you to wear our ElkBros merchandise. We'll be getting those things together, and I know, Joe, you'll have some announcements coming forward when we'll have them the shirts to order again. Guys, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review. You got to go to Apple Podcast or iTunes to review us, and you can check out more elk hunting content at ElkBros.com. And just a reminder, if any of our listeners would like their question answered on our show, just send your question to info@elkbros.com. That's info@elkbros.com. Another epic show, Joe. Can't wait to get the guys back in the house for episode 99 coming up.
Yep.
As we say down here in Texas, husbands, kiss your wives. Wives, kiss your husbands. Hug your babies. Keep your broadhead sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Peace, everybody.
Yeah.